2023 is right around the corner, and is the Charlotte real estate market going to crash? Well, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we've been seeing trending. We're also going to talk about the last crash and how potentially we're going to avoid all of that pain and get some of the gain. And make sure to stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to share with you what some of the trends are showing us and how this could be an optimal year for you to either buy or sell real estate and even invest. Now, if you're looking for the channel, everything Charlotte, the ins, the outs, the good, the bad, and everything in between, you have come to the right place. Be sure to subscribe and stay on top of all of our upcoming videos. And if you really want to see exactly when they hit, make sure to hit that notification button and you'll get a notification the second we hit YouTube. So let's talk a little bit about moving. Whether you're 9 days or 90 days from moving, go ahead and give us a call, text, or email. People are reaching out to us every single day, just like you, looking to make a move. All of my contact information is below. Be sure to reach out and I'll answer all of your questions. So let's dive into the real estate market. What is going on in Charlotte? Well, in order to understand what's going on right now, I gotta take you back in time, back to a time of 2008. Now you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, the big market crash. Here's the thing, a lot of people are very scared that this is going to happen again. Here's what I'm going to tell you, it's not happening. So let's go back and take a look at what happened in 2008. In 2008, there were very loose lending principles that were being used. Now there's a few things I'm going to highlight. If you guys want more information on this and a little bit of comedy along with it, there's a phenomenal movie that came out a couple years ago called The Big Short. It featured Steve Carell and several other actors that you probably know, and it explained pretty much what happened in 2008 and why it bombed so badly. But let's give you the highlights. First off, loans were being given to people that really couldn't get them. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, they were giving out loans that were called ARMs, A-R-M. Now, an ARM mortgage is an adjustable rate mortgage. What does that mean? It means the rate can be adjusted. Now, what was happening was these lenders were giving out ARM loans on property, sometimes multiples on a single property at extremely low interest rates. Here's the catch. At any point in time, they could jack up or call upon those loans and it would jack up the interest rate sometimes to 9%. Now, if you're in a loan at 2%, sometimes it'll go to 9%. It's a big difference. And that's why homes were foreclosing. Those loans were being called upon, and these people that were able to afford it at 2% were not able to afford it at 9%. Now, I'm giving those, that wasn't exactly everybody's loan was not 2 and 9, so please understand this is just an explanation. But they were jumping by very close to that amount on some of these loans. Now what's happening is people can't afford their monthly mortgage. Now, instead of selling the home, well, they could try, but there was almost no equity in the home for them to pay off the balance. So what they were doing was they were going into foreclosure. And what happened in 2008 is because there were so many of those loans being written and so many that were called upon and so many people going into foreclosure, it caused homes to flood the market. Now, back in that time, there were, I'm talking thousands upon thousands of homes that were flooding the market at about the same time. So you might be thinking, well, yeah, but not everybody was in a bad financial situation. You are correct. Here's where those homes hurt the market. And here's how those lending principles, which are no longer permitted today, by the way, they do still have ARM loans, but you still have to apply and make sure that you can pay at any of the interest rates and be able to get out of that loan. Now, there's other things that went on, we won't go into them, but here's how those homes flooding the market affected the rest of the homes on the market. Now, I hear it all the time from clients. Hey, do you have any foreclosed homes that we could go look at? Yes, there are still foreclosures on the market, but it's different from what we were seeing back in 2008. See, in 2008, there were these beautiful homes that had nothing wrong with them. It's just that the owners couldn't afford them. A lot of the foreclosures that we see today usually need a little bit of work. And in most cases, they're being sold at the same price as your everyday ordinary home up the street with a homeowner not in foreclosure because the property value is still there. Here's why 2008 was different. In 2008, the homes were beautiful. Now, mind you, the bank was trying to liquidate the home. Now the bank is sitting on hundreds of homes at this point in time. They don't care what it really sells for as long as it pays off the note. So what was happening was you could have two houses on the same block, same exact house, same exact square footage. This house, however, was a home with a homeowner that just wanted to move, and they had it out there for fair market value. Here comes in the foreclosure. Same house, same quality, same condition. Only difference is it was a foreclosed home. They priced this home $30,000 less. Again, I'm using round numbers here, just go with me on this. Now, if you were somebody shopping for a home, which property would you be more likely to purchase? If they're both the same, would you buy the more expensive one at $300,000 or the one listed at $270,000? That's right, you go for the $270,000 all day long. So what started happening was because there were so many of these homes hitting the market, in order for you as a homeowner to sell your home, you had to do what? Either somehow find a way to increase the value of the home or reduce the price. That's right. So when the crash happened, the reason why these prices started to plummet is because they had to keep up with what was going on, what the market trend was. And if you had the same house on the block that was a foreclosure for far less, guess what else? It had a tendency to reset what the seller is selling the home for. Now let me explain that. Someone bought the foreclosure, then this homeowner realized that, well, we got to reduce our price if we want to get the attention from all these other foreclosures. By making that price lower, it started to do the opposite of what we've seen the last 2 years, which we're going to go into. Now prices are coming down because they're trying to beat out the foreclosures that are on the market so they can actually get it sold. This is where we saw that retraction from the market. Things slowed way down and people were selling their homes for less. Those homes then became the new basis point for what homes are being sold for in a particular neighborhood, and then people were having difficulty selling for anything above that. So, was it terrible? Absolutely. No one wants to go back to 2008. It was not good for anyone. But here's where things are different. Over the last 2 years, we have seen the lowest interest rates we have ever seen. I mean, ever. Like, you go back in history, these interest rates are insane. I have a friend that's actually locked in at 1.75 on their mortgage. Now, the reason that these interest rates were so low back in 2020, 2021, and really the beginning of 2022 is because it was all based upon a zero Fed rate. Now, I did have a client once ask me, well, if the Fed rate went to zero, does that mean I have no interest on my loan? No, absolutely not. But when the lenders are not having to pay additional interest, it allows them to lower that bracket. So here's the question. Why would they make it so low and then jump it so high? Well, here's the thing. The reason why those interest rates were brought down so low by the Fed was because we went into the pandemic. Now, the pandemic led to lockdowns, which would have seized the US economy. I mean, made it completely stop. Part of the reason why those rates went so low is to keep the economy moving. Most people don't know this, but actually real estate and the purchase and sale of real estate is the backbone of the US economy in keeping things moving. So if industry is shut down, they need to make sure something's still flowing. That is what they kept going. So why did things get so crazy? Why were we seeing 60 offers on one home and, paying thousands of dollars over appraisal for a property? Here's why. Because the rates came down so low, there is now a higher percentage of individuals that can afford a home loan, right? If you were at 4% versus 2%, that's a big difference. So those that could usually afford a $200,000 home now can afford a $500,000 home. I know that's a very big swing. Go with me on this with the way that everything has been going, but it gives you the sense of more people were flooding the market. The challenge was we still have a deficit of 5.5 million homes in the United States. So if you've got way more buyers ready and willing to buy, but still the same amount of homes hitting the market, what's gonna happen? Your seesaw is gonna go into a full-on seller's market. It's a seller's market, and the definition of that is that there are less homes and more buyers, meaning the demand is high, but the inventory is low. A level market would mean there's similar homes available to those that are buyers, and a buyer's market is there are more homes than there are buyers. Going back to school, give you a little economics lesson there. So what we were seeing between 2020 and 2022 is an extreme seller's market. Why? Rates were low, we had an exorbitant amount of buyers that were able to buy a property, and why else? Because inventory was not growing at the pace that the buyers were becoming available. So, what the heck happened in 2022? Why did things shift? Well, one, the rates went up, right? From January of 2022, where it was 3.22, actually it was March of 2022, the average rate was 3.22. By literally October, we were sitting at just north of 7, almost 8%. That is a huge swing. Now, to give you an idea of how this affects your buying power as a buyer, and even if you're out there looking to sell a home, how this affects the people that are buying your property. A 1% increase in interest rate reduces your buying power by 11%. By 11%, think about that. So people that were previously able to buy a $300,000 house at 3.5% interest, if it goes to 7.5% interest, they're all the way down in like the 180s, 200s. That's a big shift. So we see that there was a lot of buyers that left the market, left the buying pool as everything started to shift in mid-2022. Now, here's one really cool thing to think about. Now, I know a lot of people are, oh man, but now I can't afford a house. You will, in the future, it will happen. But what it's done is, if you are actively pursuing a property over the last several months, you have actually had a chance to get it. What I mean by that is, you were able to make an offer and discuss it with the seller and have that offer accepted versus it hit the market, you called your agent, you put in a blind offer because that was your only option, and then hopefully you got it. It's actually been very pleasant and it's made the market more even. Now, mind you, it's still a little bit more tweaked towards the seller's market, and property values are still going up. Now, this brings us to 2023. What in the world is going to happen in 2023? Now, as interest rates started to go on the rise at an alarming rate, I do not know why they jumped it so quickly. Really, they said it was to battle the inflation that had occurred over the last 2 years. I get it, but it went up a little bit too fast, if you ask me. So, what are we seeing now? Well, over the last couple of months, or weeks even, we've seen a reduction in interest rates, which is phenomenal. As is slated by most of those I'm not the expert here. This is me talking to other individuals and making sure I'm keeping my finger on the pulse of experts in the industry when it comes to mortgage and interest rates. It is slated that by spring of 2023, we will see a massive reduction in interest rates. Now, when I say massive, we had a massive inflation of interest rates over the last few months. It is expected that it should be in the 5s, possibly the upper 4s when it comes to interest rates. Now, why is that a good thing? Well, it's way better than 7. The other thing is, it's going to keep an even-keeled opportunity for buyers to be able to afford properties. Now, in Charlotte, our average price point is about $370,000. Now, it depends where you are in Charlotte, what type of property. It's a very blanket average, but it will allow more people in that price range to become pre-approved for a home loan, which is wonderful. So what else are we expecting in 2023? Well, a few things. I already talked about number 1, the interest rates are going to come down. Number 2, building. There are even more new construction properties that are breaking ground. Over the last 2 years, there have been large builders that have been procuring land and preparing it for building. Now, granted, a lot of them, we don't see that work happening, and it started 2 years ago. Now they're able to start breaking ground and create new construction homes throughout the area. Now, the third thing we're going to see in 2023, and also why the market is not going to crash. Charlotte and the surrounding areas are one of the top 10 most, I would say, in many ways, the top 10 of a lot of things, but the top 10 locations for people to be moving to from across the country, meaning we have a lot of people that are moving into the area. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to keep the demand high for housing, which means if you own a home or looking to sell a home, you still are going to be able to hold on to the value of your home and sell at top dollar because there's plenty of buyers that can buy. So even if it's not people buying that already live locally, we have enough of a population that's coming in that it's going to keep those elevated prices. Now, Here's what we're not going to see. We are not going to see our actual equity, which is the difference between what the home is worth and what you owe on it. We're not going to see equity rising at the substantial rate it did in 2020 and 2022. In those 2 years, back to back, we saw anywhere from 17 to 20%, depending upon the area, of value going up. That's right, the value of properties went up by 17 to 20% year over year. That means in 2020 and in 2022. Or I'm sorry, 2020 and 2021. In 2022, we saw it start to taper off, and we hit an average of about 10 to 12% in 2022. So what are we going to see for 2023? It's not going to go backwards. We're not going to see that prices are going to decrease. They are still expected to go on the rise. Why? Supply and demand. We have enough people in Charlotte that the demand is there for these properties. What we're not going to see is it go up by 20%, but it is slated to go up between 6 to 8%, which is in line with the averages historically over the last 20 years, which is great. So what does that mean for you? If you buy a home in 2023, the equity and value of your home is still going to increase over that year. Now, one thing to bear in mind, interest rates are going to fluctuate. So should you wait till they drop in spring? I don't think so. Here's why. By the time we get to spring, the property prices will go up. By the time we get to fall, they will have gone up again. Marry the home, date the rate. What I mean by that is you can always refinance on the property, and that way you're getting the home at a lower price. You can refinance for a lower rate and change your actual monthly payment, but you've at least been able to grow with the home and appreciate that equity. Now, one other thing we're not going to see in 2023. We're not going to see insane multiple offer situations. Now, what I mean by that is, yes, there are going to be multiple offers on properties. However, we're not going to be seeing 60 offers with hundreds of thousands of dollars over the appraised value that are promised out of pocket. Those days are done. And the nice thing about that is now the seller can be assured that they are going to get a proper valuation for their home, be able to sell it at top dollar, but buyers will actually have an opportunity to purchase a home. Now, here's one last thing we're not going to see in 2023. We are not going to see large purchasers and conglomerates coming in and purchasing properties. This became a challenge in 2020 and 2021 with large firms such as Zillow, Opendoor, Knock, really several. There's a lot of different ones that were doing it, but they're large purchasers of residential real estate that were coming in and scooping up all of the properties that were available, which are usually in the price range of an intermediate or introductory single-family home. So that means you as a buyer are going up against this cash institution that can close in 10 days. It's very difficult to compete with that when you have a loan. Well, a lot of those companies have gone out of business or gone bankrupt, and they have taken it off the docket as something that they are going to be doing because it's not as favorable at this point. The interest rates have gone up. The demand is still there for rentals, but they've already procured so many properties. Many of them have started to liquidate, which means you might actually be able to scoop up one of those properties they previously had in their portfolio. So I'll end it with this. Why is 2023 a great time to buy? Well, if you know anything about those that have built wealth over many, many generations, most millionaires, almost 95%, have done it through real estate. Now, I'm not saying you're trying to go out and build yourself a portfolio of real estate, but what I am saying is the value of real estate is always going up. They are not making any more land, and interest rates are always going to fluctuate. So if that's something that's got you a little nervous, don't worry, you can always refinance. And it's a very easy process. But what you need to know about buying or selling in 2023 is that you are going to be able to have a conversation with the buyer, or you as the buyer can have a conversation with the seller and actually come to agreed upon terms and have a really pleasant experience in getting your new home or selling your current home. So whether it's 9 days or 90 days, whether you're moving across the country or just across Charlotte, I would love to help you make that move exactly what you want it to be. All my contact information is below. Be sure to call, text, email, or schedule a Zoom with the Zoom link. And until next time, I look forward to showing you around town. Take care.